So as you guys are getting settled, I want to get a quick little 10, 20, 30 seconds about what you guys do. Reggie, I'm going to start with you.
Hey everyone, I'm Reggie. I'm the CEO and founder of Alias. You can think of us as sort of a TikTok with virtual avatars. And we've actually just gone live this week, so you might see some of our posters around, so feel free to scan it. I've been working in the virtual avatar space for about the last 5 years, designing campaigns for Puma, for Adidas, with virtual influencers. And before that, I was the creative director for 88 Rising and owned a few venues in Shanghai and threw a lot of parties.
Cool. Evangeline.
I am based in Singapore and we operate in 6 markets. We're good at helping brands get influenced online. So some of our customers are like Casetify, Prism Plus, everything that you're seeing that's very everywhere online, that's pretty much by us. We've got 14 million content creators and we are in business for 8 years for now.
All right, and you, Patrik.
Yes, hi, Patrik Wilkens, VP of Business Development for TheSoul Publishing in the entertainment industry for the last 20 years and the last 3 years in social media and music. TheSoul Publishing, we're around since 2016. We have over 2 billion followers across over 35 different platforms, and last year we had 330 billion views across all of our IP. We own our own IP, we finance our own IP, we publish our own IP, and most recently we acquired a talent management agency in Los Angeles, 60 people. They have great artists under contract, so now we're opening our services also to, so to speak, third parties.
All right, awesome, great group. And we've got tech, we've got agency, we've got creators. We're going to talk about this world. Now look, virtual creators have been around for a long time. I helped start a cable network called ZDTV back in 1998, where we had a guy in a suit that was actually the host of the network. We had 2 of them. They were virtual creators. Why has it taken so long, and what's enabling it now? Who wants to jump in? I guess Reggie, jump in. Why now?
I think we've had a lot of technological advancements over the last 5-10 years that is just making it a lot easier for the individual to start making content as a virtual creator. Traditionally, you've needed full motion capture suits, which cost thousands of dollars. You needed studios, you need teams.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, or $1 million in the ZDTV day.
Yeah, and I learned that really quick when I made my first virtual influencer around 2019. It's really, really expensive. And so with Alias, what we're trying to do is just democratize that. The technology's arrived where we can use AI motion capture that can just take your facial movements or your body movements and then sort of just plug that directly and animate your avatar in real time.
3D, right, in 3D.
In 3D.
Evangeline, what about you? Why now? Why now?
So you see, we've been following cartoons when we were kids, and then now it's kind of just still a cartoon, but it's a virtual avatar, right? When we talk about content creators, everybody says, you don't be so fake, right? How can you just woke up like that and look so picture perfect? You put so much filter on you. But come on, people are following virtual avatars and it's 100% fake, and we all know that it's fake. But we like it, we crave it, and I think the difference is its novelty, it's fun, it's creative, and we crave for that emotional connection we had with cartoons as well as now. And of course, with it being a lot more cost-effective, then it's more accessible.
Yep, and what about you, Patrik?
Yeah, I think really good points from both. I look at the macro side of things, and I would say on the one hand, you know, the gaming industry really increased over the years, right? No longer are you considered a nerd when you play, you know, Fortnite maybe in your basement, so to speak, right? You're a celebrity and you're playing in a stage in front of, you know, hundreds of millions of people. That certainly helped, you know, to make the general public more aware of, you know, virtual or animated characters. And I also believe that with the rise of social media, you know, there's no longer a gatekeeper, right? A TV network or anybody else who kind of tells you what you can watch and what you can't watch, and it kind of democratized the whole business. And then through the cheaper technology nowadays, influencers are putting the content out, and everybody can watch it. So I think those 2 things really help the industry in general.
You know, each of you are doing things with virtual avatars, synthetic creators, or other things. I want to just lean in on each of those for a minute and talk about what's going on. Reggie, on your side, you got a music video you're launching? Tell me about that, with a virtual character?
Yeah, so in Alias, you can select various different characters, and in the future you'll have the ability to customize and create your own avatar. But to get started, we brought in a new character called Clip, and we made her open source. So the idea is that anybody can download her 3D model and make animations and whatever they like, really, but they can also use her in Alias to make content. And we collaborated with a record label to release some music, and we released a music single this week, and the music video actually drops today.
Okay, where's the music video going to be available?
Where
can you watch it?
We'll have it up on our website, so you can go check it
You're
out.
not putting it on YouTube or Spotify?
Yeah. It'll be a link to YouTube.
So all the normal places people would find music videos.
Exactly, yeah.
Evangeline, what about you guys? You guys have a synthetic creator that you're using for marketing and advertising, right? For brands.
Yes, so in fact, we were part of the birth of a avatar some years back. It's called Here's Ray, R-A-E. And it's been very fun because there are the technology people that are involved, and there are people like us who are very good at making things go trendy and viral on social media. So we gave birth to how the look needs to be like, Pan-Asian, to appeal to which kind of target audience, and then how do we plan her personality, her profile, or even the relationships around her, her hobbies, and actually plan it in advance so that it can attract sponsorship deals and monetization avenues 3-5 years down the road. So it's been very fun.
Oh, and it's working. Brands are coming in.
It's perfect.
And you as well with Polar. Talk about that, Patrik, and what you've been doing there. And because you've got one with like millions of subscribers, right?
Yes, correct. We have Paula, who's a virtual singer. She is 18 years old in virtual years, so to speak, 2 years old in human years, I would say.
So she's been 18 for 2 years.
She's been 18 for 2 years, yeah, forever 18, if we're coming up with a new brand.
If only, right?
No, she has, exactly, on YouTube she has over 5 million followers, over 2 million on TikTok. She is working together with Jason Derulo together. She is working with the XO team, which is a famous TikTok house. She won Metaverse Person of the Year from the Drums in 2023. Did Forbes articles, did Hollywood Reporter. Hasn't done any sponsored deal yet, so in case somebody wants to do, then please let me know. It's definitely on my wish list.
You know, it's interesting. This was a conversation that came up when I was talking with Esther before we talked. She also has a virtual creator that is doing stuff with, I think, Pringles or a potato chip brand or something like that. You've seen success with sponsors, but you have not. And I wonder, is this a cultural regional thing? Is the U.S. and Europe just not ready for this sort of thing, or is it just that is it more likely to happen here? I don't know. Jump in, Evangeline. What do you think?
I don't think it's the easiest because the marketers are still very used to the traditional kind of creators, because people use content creators for the relevance, credibility, and the personal relatability, right? If I were to sell a skincare cream, right, a person would put it on their skin and say, look at how the texture works. And if you put it on the avatar can't actually express themselves like that, right? So if you are looking at a avatar versus a content creator, then there are a lot of things that they actually function very differently. I follow a content creator for her lifestyle, for her recommendations, and how she works around things. An avatar is very different. I'm seeing how edgy the technology is, what are the different novelty things that she's doing, and it's not necessarily for recommendations. And if you study the difference in behavior and consumer attitude between them, that's how marketers think as well. So I must say it's not the easiest to get sponsorships for the avatar, but definitely if you compare it with a content creator, they have very different benefits. I would say if it's an avatar, then look at it very differently. It is to bring out the brand positioning, right? The kind of brand dollars or the ad revenue will be put in a quite different category.
Yeah, what do you think, Patrik? You think that it is regional? Do you think it's part of the world? Or do you think that we've seen Lil Miquela in the U.S. actually do okay, but that might be a special snowflake in the U.S.
Yeah, it might be regional. I mean, it seems that Southeast Asia in general is more open to animated characters. We've seen that some of the top streamers, for example, in Japan would be mainly virtual characters, right? In terms of size, Pola certainly ticks all the boxes in terms of PR. She is one of the most prolific virtual influencers around. I think we have to accept that it might be me, just not being able to talk to the right people.
Don't sell yourself short, but yeah, but there's something. Reggie, what do you think about it? Is it more likely that they're going to see success in Asia rather than the U.S. or somewhere else?
I definitely think there's some truth to that. Because with Vtubers, it really spawned out of Japan in this sort of, Japanese otaku, waifu kind of culture. And that was around 2016. And now we're starting to see it seep over into the West. So I think we're still very early in terms of like the Western side of things. But you know, and a good indicator that it is now migrating to the West is last year, the content creator of the year was a VTuber, Iron Mouse.
Right.
She took home the prize, and she's an English-speaking VTuber. So that's the biggest indicator that the West is almost ready to.
That was on the Twitch Streaming Awards, and it was pretty crazy that, we'll get to VTubers in a minute. I want to say one last thing about just these synthetic and virtual creators. They're still puppets, right? Someone's still pulling the strings behind the scenes and voicing it and writing the stories and animating the character, right? I mean, when do we get to the point where these things are fully AI realized, just release them on the internet and they kind of do their own thing without a human behind them? Anybody want to take that?
I think they already exist in some format or another. We are R&Ding some of that stuff to see how it could look like, but I don't know if it's something that people actually will want in the long term. It sounds a little gimmicky because when you are watching something or a creator, it's usually there's a personality behind it or an angle. So I don't know. I'm not totally sold on the whole like AI agents yet.
Go ahead, Evangeline.
I wanted to share something with regards to the previous question, actually. You know, how the brands actually started thinking of avatars. A lot of time, their thought process is that, you know what, working with a content creator, I have to work with their schedules, their attitude, and yada, yada, yada. But if I work with a virtual creator, I get to control everything, right? I can just design the outcome and everything. So I think the motivation behind working with a virtual avatar usually comes from this. But after that, when they actually put them side by side to compare, and they compare the effectiveness of the outreach, of the relevance, credibility, relatability, then a human content creator actually brings in more benefits. So rather than actually advertising on a virtual avatar that has been created, we actually see more potential in actually the brands creating avatar of their own that they are able to own as IP and then help to represent the brand, which I think very exciting thing that you're on.
And it's, you know, it's scalable as well. I don't think we've fully explored that, but I think Hatsune Miku is a great example of something that was created by the community and is just massive, this IP that's just taken the world by storm. And I think we haven't really seen the reaches of how to scale a creator before, but with a virtual creator, I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that.
Well, I mean, virtual creators don't, you know, they can work 24 hours a day. They don't, get canceled. But Patrik, what do you think? I mean, how much, I mean, I'll give exact numbers, but creating the content for Polar and creating the virtual shows, I mean, it's not free, right?
Correct. There's a team. Polar's working with a team of 10 people, roundabout. So we have, an incredible woman who's doing the dancing in the green suit with the ping pong balls all around her, right? And we have a producer. We have people that work on the sound and obviously animators. So yes, there's a whole team behind Polar. Reggie and I, we talked a little bit about it. Polar is, again, 2 years old right now. I think today you could probably do that with a smaller team, with all the AI tools that are available. But what you still need is you need that connection, right? You need to make it, you don't just produce it, you need to make it relevant, right? Because I think everybody will be able to produce, avatars. I do not think that there is, a big obstacle to do that already now. Right? I think the big obstacle to be successful is to be relevant, to be authentic in your avatar, right? And to get it out. Like for Polar, for example, what worked really well for us is that she's a virtual influencer, a music star, so she does all of her own music. She has great collaborations with Jason Derulo, for example. But on the other hand, she's also in all those virtual games, right? In Evangeline Live, she did a concert, 2 million people, 100,000 watch hours. She was in Roblox, she gave a concert there. She even did a Web3 game collaboration. So you need to find your own niche and you need to double down on it. And of course, having a team behind is an advantage as well.
All right, well, let's move on and talk a little bit about 3D virtual avatars with people behind them, VTubers or whatever you want to call it. And because this is the sort of, how do you take these avatars and put real people behind it and do things like Iron Mouse and the ability to become the Twitch streamer of the year as a VTuber. Reggie, you're sort of democratizing the access to all of this. I mean, it used to be that you needed tons of equipment, and even like 2 years ago, Code Miko was another famous streamer, VTuber on Twitch. She brought all her rig with me, and she could put it all on a really powerful computer, and it still took a lot of equipment. But now you're building something, and now you see it happen where it's democratized, where really anybody can be a VTuber, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think, when we look at the current technologies I mentioned before, like AI motion capture, it just removes all these barriers. So with Alias, you can literally just hold the camera to your phone, to your face, and in real time, you can start animating the avatar, and then record a short form video, put it onto TikTok, Instagram, wherever. Also use the same app to live stream with. So this just opens up the doors for what everybody can do, because traditionally you needed that team, you needed that technology or the expertise. A lot of VTubers, when we did a lot of our user research, they're animators. They work in 3D production, right? So they have that experience, but the normal person doesn't know where to start. And I've spoken to a lot of different people trying to get into this space, and they just come up with against barriers, against resources, costs of things, and I just want to eliminate that so people can just play with it. That's really our mission.
So you can create a real 1080p or whatever for 4K with your technology. What does it go up to?
Yeah, it'd be 1080.
1080. Okay, so like something that would look really good on a short form platform or in YouTube. Patrik, how many VTubers do you have in your stable of creators that you work with, if any? Is that an area that you're currently in or that you're looking at?
So if the definition of YouTuber then would be like a real person with a mask on top of it, then we do not have any of those at the moment. It's certainly an area that we're looking into. We have over 100 IPs that we own, right? Polar is one of them. We have a lot of IPs in the made for kids segment as well. 5 Minute Crafts, largest DIY brand in the world, 350 million followers. So we have a lot of areas to look into. But yeah, VTubers is one of them that we have on the radar, but we're not actively
evaluating, but not there yet. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
And Evangeline, from your side, what do you think the opportunity is on the VTuber side for working with brands, working with real humans that aren't showing themselves, but are wrapped in a 3D avatar?
I think everything is about demand and supply, right? So we haven't had a lot of demand for VTubers or people that are wrapped behind, because the power of the content creators and why marketers want to do that is really for that personality. And if they wanted something to represent themselves, they may just create something out of themselves to represent themselves. So we haven't observed a lot of demand around there. I think there would be interest and curiosity, but for that to be sustainable, that ecosystem needs to balance up with the demand. I hope there is more demand, then we can experiment with a lot more methods to do things.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were talking yesterday about just how big VTubers are in Japan, in other parts of the world, and even here. And it's almost an emotional issue and a mental health issue for many creators that don't want to show themselves. Are VTubers something that you guys see as a way for more people to become creators? Anybody want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I think, when I speak to a lot of creators or people that want to create, some people are just shy. They just don't want to show their face. Like that's one, component of becoming a virtual creator is that you want to stay hidden for whatever reason. But when we did our user research, we actually found that virtual avatars, or on a larger kind of aspect, pseudonymity, can actually provide a lot of societal benefits, especially with online culture and online toxicity, discrimination, online bullying. A lot of that is to do with our physical self. So having a virtual avatar or a pseudonym allows you to have something in between yourself and internet culture. But then we also see when people adopt a virtual avatar or, again, a pseudonym, their creativity goes up. And we've seen this in pop culture. Snoop Dogg, Daft Punk, there's plenty, right? Banksy, Mr. Beast, even. And people like to have this barrier that they face society with. So creativity goes up, participation goes up, and online anxiety goes down. So I think that was one of the other sort of big ticks for me as the founder, that I wanted to go down this rabbit hole, because I think it can actually improve online behaviors.
I think there's another really interesting use case when you look at so many of the child influencer, child stars, right, who have phenomenal success when they are at a certain age, like 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever that age is, right? But people grow up, and in order to keep the brand, either you have to evolve, which, let's be honest, doesn't always work, Or you can go the other round, VTuber round, or again, like as some people do, they go into the animation, they make themselves into a 2D or 3D characters, right? And then you forever stay in that IP. So I think that's a real use case that many influencers that need to stick to whatever they've built, so to speak, and they can't naturally evolve with it, should really consider, and some of them are considering it, right?
I think that's a really good point that's worth talking about. You look at, so it's sort of the Jojo Siwa problem, right? Like, what happens and how do you keep Jojo Siwa 10 years old with a ribbon or 12 years old forever? And I know that Pocket Watch is doing this with Ryan's Toys, right? They're taking, which is probably what you were referring to. But how do you keep, now Ryan's like gonna be a teenager soon if he's not already, but if you animate him, you can keep it going. What about, how do you think brands react to that? Are brands like okay with that transition from sort of the human star to the animated version and embracing it? Audiences seem to like it, right?
Honestly, I don't think the brand has actually considered this far. They would, because the demand or the supply in the market, it's a lot, right? I have so many people nowadays to choose from, right? And people are thinking, instead of appointing one person, maybe I can test out another person, I can test out 50 other people. And I think because the ecosystem is so vibrant and there's so many options, to have to stick to a person and then the person actually migrates to another version, I haven't observed such a desire for it yet. So I'm not sure about it, but I'm excited about the possibility about a single artist or some personality that has reached out to a certain market, but because of language barrier or because of any other culture barriers, and that there are certain ways to actually reach to more markets using different technologies or AI, then I think that version might be acceptable, yeah.
I mean, Reggie, what do you think? Do we get to a point where we're going to see a lot of kids that are VTubing out with things like this because, with their parents are like, well, when you become famous, we'll be able to keep you a kid forever?
Like, parents are really interested in Alias, for example, because it allows their kids to make content but not have to show their face, which I think is really important to a lot of parents. The other thing that we haven't spoken about yet is also deepfakes. That technology is getting wild. With just one image, maybe 10 seconds of audio, you can almost replicate an entire person to say whatever you want. How do you combat that? And so one thing that we've discussed internally is, like, can avatars be a way to mitigate some of those risks? So you have this virtual persona or avatar to, again, interface with online culture, so you can keep your physical self separate and hopefully safer.
All right, Reggie brought up the deep fake. Anybody want to comment on deep fakes? No. Okay, yes, I buy it. Not that that was a bad thing to bring up, but let's talk about AI. And we sort of hinted about AI and its potential to do what you're doing and some of the potential probably that you're leaning into. But how will AI change the way creators are creating and their ability to be virtual and maybe take their avatars across different virtual worlds? So let's start with AI and then we can move into sort of virtual spaces as well. Anybody want to talk about how AIs will change the world of VTubers and virtual avatars?
And I believe that AI already, and it's a buzzword. I'm well aware of that. AI did change a few things already for the creator industry, right, or for the creator economy. TheSoul, for example, we invested into 11 labs because they've done an amazing job with text-to-speech, exactly. So that obviously helps us to, we translate to 21 languages, right? We have subtitles, we have voiceovers, so that obviously helps us to make the process more efficiently, right? We do a lot of script writing, a lot of our 100 plus IPs are scripted. So AI makes these things way more efficient, right? Picture and content generation in general. The next level is something that all of us have to deal with. TheSoul as well, is at what point, can the entirety of the value chain be created by AI, and what is our place then in that, in that value chain? I don't have the answer yet, but it's certainly one of the really important questions that all of us are facing, right? At what point, can a lot of what we do, a lot of what makes us special, be replicated, and then what's the next thing that makes us special again, right?
How do you see that impacting the agency side and the brand side, particularly with a focus on the virtuals?
What a fun question. So we were one of the few who have 8 patents over our technology that has AI in it from 8 years ago. So we were early to the game, and it wasn't generative AI, it was just NLP and image recognition. But that was fun because it got us first into the market in AI. Today, we're seeing that AI can do a lot of low-value execution work for creators as well as for any companies, but it cannot take away chemistry, which is what creators can then in future focus on building with followers, right? So I think that's going to be fun. And today, I think the challenge with AI is about adoption. Because there is a lot of buzz about AI, there's a lot of people trying to understand, but if dollars are not poured into here for adoption, for embracing, and the brands, the businesses are not understanding it well enough, then it's not sustainable. So I'm now in a committee to help, in ASME, to help Singapore SMEs adopt AI and embrace digitalization. Yeah.
All right, what's the name of the community?
It's ASME under ESG. It's literally called digitalization and AI.
Okay, all right, everybody here, join. Go ahead, Reggie. AI, how's it changing it from your perspective, the creator world and the virtual world?
Yeah, so one thing I'm really excited about is AI has made it very easy for anyone to create stuff, right? Whether it's music or words or images, videos. So what I'm really excited is co-creation. How do we create together? How do we build virtual worlds together, story-tell together, collaboratively, where everyone is contributing towards something larger than what they could have created by themselves. And I think AI is going to really enable that.
I want to talk real quickly, we don't have much time left, about virtual worlds, because AI, you know, we heard about Epic earlier, we got Roblox, we got Minecraft. That seems like an ideal place for us to put our avatar on and go play. Does this become sort of more, and you know, the younger you are, the more likely that's what you do. Does this become the way that's just the gateway drug to be fully into VTubing, or is it just one aspect of our creator life? Anybody? We'll talk about the VR, AR world and how this develops. Patrik.
I mean, for us and you know, as a company, it's important. Also for Polar as an artist, it's incredibly important. We have done some work together with a company out of the UK, Lockwood Publishing. They have a virtual world called Evangeline Live, and we first put our YouTube videos into Evangeline Live, so people could then watch our YouTube videos. And what we found is that the amount of minutes watched and the performance of those people watching is very similar to the performance of the people watching, so to speak, in the real world, the YouTube video directly, right? So that was the first data point that showed us, hey, if you can recreate real-life behavior in a virtual world that you would do anyway, right? It's additive rather than cannibalizing. And after that, actually, we started to do the Polar collaboration, where we released the very first song for Polar, for example, was released in Evangeline Live. And we got over 8 million views on the video, I think 9 million views now. And then after that, so first the videos, then the actual release exclusively in Evangeline Live, and then afterwards there was actually the concert that I mentioned earlier, was like over 2 million people watching. So I do think that those virtual worlds are a great ground for influencers, and obviously being a virtual influencer makes it easier.
Yeah. And so Evangeline, on your side, the brands you work with, I'm sure they're testing and working with these different virtual spaces. How do you see that developing, and is it moving from the test and learn to the we are really investing real money?
I think people are still in the test and learn environment, unfortunately, as much as I wish that people are actually already investing real money. I think in the Asian culture, there's also a monkey see, monkey do culture, where let's see how people are doing it, and let's see how other brands, and if it succeeds, let's just go for it. There's a lot of questions. What is the ROI, right? So if we can answer that question, then I think, yeah.
And finally, Reggie, from your perspective, with what you're building, is it going to allow people to take what they're building on your platform into these virtual worlds, and that becomes their second self, as it were?
Yes.
Yes. How long until that happens?
So even now, the 3D model that we're using for Clip, which I mentioned earlier, is a VRM model. And that model itself is very interoperable. So you can actually download Clip now and take her into the metaverse and play with her.
Off you go to Roblox. All right, you guys, that's all the time we have.